One thing we haven't done quite yet, and the one thing I'm excited about being here today because I think the Eden project could be a big part of the solution, is really building a vibrant environmental movement across the state. A lot of good effort in the past. And I think that the Blue Water Wind Project that brought together folks from all across the state, north and south, folks that were interested in environmental issues, public health issues, issues about job creation, all came together and said, look, we want a different future. We don't want the coal plants of the past. We don't want the emissions and the health problems that come with them. We want a different future for our kids. I think that that's the new state direction that we need to go, and I'm hoping that that's the legacy of the Jack Markell administration. We're really putting the policies and making the decisions today. So 10 years from now, we can look back and say, you know what? Delaware was ahead of the curve. Delaware was making investments before anyone else was. And Delaware's got a stronger economy and a more sustainable environment because of it. One of the biggest challenges that we all face is that, as much as we want to talk about the clean energy economy and moving forward, for all the great opportunities in green jobs and advanced transportation and green building and alternative energy, in some ways we got to go back and kind of clean up a lot of the mistakes of the past. And that's what I've spent, unfortunately, too much of my time doing already. A lot of decisions that just were delayed for a long time, or a lot of situations where somebody just wasn't willing to stand up and say no. Situations like the main channel where we should have made a decision a long time ago and just said no. And then if we lose in the courts, we lose in the courts, but at least we take a principled position. Today I was happy to announce, or yesterday, I was happy to announce with the governor that we're going to be shutting down Unit 3 at Indian River. And it's really just a facility whose time has come and gone. And the air pollution from it is fairly significant. It's one of the largest emitting sources in the entire state. And at the same time, it doesn't have a lot of the more advanced technologies. And so I had a real frank conversation with the folks at NRG and said, does it make more sense to spend $200 million putting amazing air controls and a cooling tower on a facility, or does it make more sense to shut it down and invest in renewable energy like offshore wind and some of the other technologies we have out there? And that's the conclusion they came to. And really they decided, look, it makes more sense for their business to be focused on low carbon sources of energy in the long term than trying to put lipstick on a pig, to quote our favorite vice presidential candidate. Oh, come on, we all love her. Anyway, so it made more sense. So now they're going to be investing in the Blue Water Wind Project. We're very excited about them buying it. They have both the capital and the energy expertise to hopefully get the project done. And as part of the agreement we announced yesterday, they also committed to investing heavily in workforce training in the renewable energy area. So it focused on offshore wind, as well as advanced transportation. They have some innovative ideas around electric vehicle infrastructure as a potential market for them, as well as solar systems, where they have invested in New Jersey, but they haven't spent a dime in that area in Delaware yet. And they also committed, for the first time, to focus their recruitment of various nacelle manufacturers, the parts that make the actual turbines, on companies that are going to provide an economic development benefit to Delaware. And the reason that's important is that, well, clean power is fantastic, and there's great health benefits and other environmental benefits from that. If all we do is put up a big wind farm off the coast of Rehoboth, and we don't get any jobs out of it on the manufacturing side, we will have missed one of the greatest economic opportunities that the state has faced in a long time. And that's one of the messages that I have today, and one of the reasons I'm excited about the vision of Eden, that it's really trying to blend this intersection between economic development and environmental protection. For too long, in this state in particular and all across the country, it was really seen as a dichotomy where you could have either or. You could either destroy the land and have some jobs, or you could preserve the land and have no jobs. That's crap. It's absolutely ludicrous. We can do both, and we can do both in a smarter way. And anyone that tells you otherwise is, it just hasn't taken the time to think it all the way through, or they're too busy profiting from the other side. And so we really have to move the conversation in this state and really focus on those opportunities for that intersection that so many of the speakers before me have talked about. One area that's a fantastic example of this is recycling. Right now, Delaware has one of the lower diversion rates of any of the states in the Mid-Atlantic region. And the reason is that we really haven't put the economic incentives in place to make it profitable. But the hard part is every time you throw your trash away and it winds up in a landfill, there's no jobs created there. Maybe you have one guy driving it to the landfill, and maybe one guy keeping the landfill in check. Now, but imagine if all those resources, or 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% of those resources were invested in some kind of beneficial reuse. And that you had folks that are involved in the sorting of the technology, you had folks that are involved in the new markets from the materials. All of that value is being lost as soon as you throw it into the landfill. And that's one of the reasons why the governor was so dedicated this year, even despite the tough economy, to get statewide recycling legislation done for the first time in Delaware history.